More than 63,000 people gathered outside Phoenix yesterday afternoon for a memorial service honoring Christian conservative leader Charlie Kirk. The 31-year-old was shot and killed while answering a question from an audience member at an event at Utah Valley University on September the 10th. Faith in Jesus Christ was front and center at yesterday's event, with speakers like Pastor Rob McCoy and Christian apologist Frank Turek sharing how important the gospel was to Charlie. Joining me now is Washington Stand reporter Casey Harper, who has been following this story. Casey, what more can you tell us about the memorial service yesterday?
Well, thanks, Tony. Yesterday's event, it drew some of the nation's biggest political and Christian figures, from President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance, and of course, Charlie's widow, who you featured there, Erica. And at one point, she broke down in tears as she told the crowd she forgave the alleged killer.
That man, that young man, I forgive him.
And I've seen that clip many times, but it gets me every time, Tony. But at the event, the gospel was shared through messages from Charlie's pastor, Rob McCoy, and even his mentor and Christian apologist, Frank Turek.
Now, I want you to know that Charlie right now is in heaven, not because he was a great husband and father, not because he saved millions of kids out of darkness on college campuses, not because he changed minds and chased votes to save the country, not because he sacrificed himself for his Savior. Charlie Kirk is in heaven because his Savior sacrificed himself for Charlie Kirk.
That clip was Frank Turek, president of the Christian apologetics group crossexamined.org. This event was streamed live by Turning Point USA and is estimated to have reached millions of viewers, Tony.
Thanks, Casey. I actually spoke with Frank Turek earlier this morning and thanked him for such a clear presentation of the gospel. And our prayer is that the message of the gospel will continue to reach the hearts and minds of people. Casey, what else are you tracking?
Yeah, well, New Hampshire officials, this is an interesting story and very sad. They say 23-year-old Hunter Nadeau shot and killed a man and wounded two others with a handgun. Now, the shooting happened Saturday night at a restaurant during a wedding. Notably, a witness said the suspect shouted, "The children are safe," and "Free Palestine." Of course, earlier this year, a man shouting that same phrase killed two at the Israeli embassy, they were staff members, near the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C., Tony. So these acts of violence, they're part of this growing wave of anti-Semitic attacks that are, of course, tied to the ongoing war against the terrorist group Hamas in Gaza. The incident in New Hampshire, it comes on the heels of the United Nations General Assembly meeting in New York, which began today. And Britain, related to that, Britain announced yesterday it's officially recognizing a Palestinian state. France announced today they're making the same official. So they say Israel has failed to meet key conditions, including a ceasefire in the nearly 2-year Gaza conflict. Now, Prime Minister Keir Starmer, he said the move aims to revive hope for peace and this so-called two-state solution, though many say this proposal threatens the very existence of Israel. The UK joins many countries, including, as I noted, France, Canada, Australia, and Portugal, in recognizing the Palestinian state, Tony.
You know, Casey, it's hard to see how rewarding the barbaric behavior of Hamas by recognizing a Palestinian state will actually lead to peace. I mean, they're giving in to these terrorists. Anyway, we're going to explore this topic more with Jonathan Schanzer, Executive Director at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, a little later. Casey, what's the latest from Capitol Hill on the pending government shutdown?
Well, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, he's on the verge of shutting down the government, but he's blaming President Trump. He says President Trump hasn't been willing to negotiate, to have a sit-down to avoid the shutdown. Though breaking news, there are reports now that they are supposed to meet, so there could be a breakthrough there. But Schumer's been blaming Republicans he says they're pushing for a partisan funding bill without Democratic input. Of course, the House passed a clean funding bill last week, but the Senate has not. They don't have the Democratic votes yet. And without a deal, the government could shut down on October 1st, Tony.
All right. Thank you, Casey.